learn how to handle it. Realized I'll never get rid of it, so I had to channel it for good. I'll always be an addict, but now I am addicted to all this hope I give to you. Yo, I'm living proof that if you change your mind, you can change your life. Rest in peace to the old me, cause he had to die. I am redeemed, sober, recovered, clean. I ain't give it up, just had to switch it up the way I fiend. Now I fiend for the opposite on a positive level. 2 middle fingers up, looking at the devil. What's up? Against the odds, more than ever in my life I am focused, serving hope to the hopeless, who are living against the odds. I'm from the mud, the dirt of society, and that created this driving me to help the whole world that's living against the odds. I know some of you are struggling and probably pissed at God. I was too, but I realized nothing happened to me, it happened for me. Here to tell the story of everyone that's living against the odds.
What up? What up? What up? What up? Saturday night, and we are live. How you guys doing tonight? Pretty good? It's been a long time since I was able to go live on Against the Odds with a special guest. So tonight is very special, and it was a very beautiful day in Minnesota. First of all, I want to thank you guys for always supporting Against the Odds, supporting the mission of spreading hope to the hopeless, and supporting our content, sharing our lives and our graphics and everything that Against the Odds or I put out. You guys continue to share, and you continue to promote and help us share hope to the hopeless. Tonight, we have a very special guest, a friend of mine. She's backstage. I'm going to bring her up because I want her to tell her story to you. But we have Amber Faulkner tonight, and she's here to tell her story of hope and inspiration. She is on the front lines with men and women in addiction, and she's helping pull them out of the pits. She's setting the captives free, and it's an honor to have her on the show tonight. Welcome, Amber. What's up, Amber?
Hi, Phil. Thanks.
How are you doing?
Good. So, well, thank you for the introduction, and thanks. I just want to say thank you to anyone that's watching this tonight. It's a beautiful night. We could all be outside enjoying the weather, but if you're watching this, thank you. I appreciate your time. So, like Phil said, my name is Amber. Before I give you some background information, I've been clean for 12 and a half years, but before all of that, I was a meth addict for 14 years. So my story begins when I was about, 16 years old. I had my first child. And from there, I wanted to do everything that I possibly could to do good for my kid. So I went and I got my GED. I graduated in 94 when I was supposed to. And then I had my daughter when I was 19. But throughout that time, and before that, my dad was an alcoholic until I was about 5 years old. And my mom left my dad and my sister and I, and we went and lived in an apartment for a while. Anyway, my dad ended up quitting alcohol. My mom and dad are still together, but I just remember that, and I recall how that affected me and the trauma that it put in my life without even realizing how traumatic it was. So I always wanted my dad's love and affection. My dad was a really hard worker. My mom was a really hard worker, and, they worked a lot. My dad worked from morning until night. And the way that they showed my sister and I love was by providing a nice home for us, bringing us on these trips, things like that. However, I didn't get the hugs and the kisses and all of the stuff that I feel like I probably needed when I was a kid. So I sought that in other ways. Fast forward now to having my daughter. So I was 19 years old. I had my daughter. By that time, I had graduated school. I was in college. I thought I was doing good. And then I met my daughter's dad. That's when I was with him. Sorry, I had to just rewind a little bit there. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But he was a drug addict, and I was anti everything. I didn't do drugs. I drank every once in a while, but I was naive to all of that stuff. I didn't know about meth, or at the time it was crank or cocaine or heroin, all the stuff that we see today. So he would hide it, and I would find marijuana pipes in the bathroom, and I'd flip out, or he'd be up all night, and I'd be like, what the heck is going on? But the first time that I ever used meth was Easter Sunday. My sister was over at my apartment, And my daughter's dad was also there, and they were up all night being weird, doing weird stuff. And I was like, finally I said, hey, what the heck's going on? And my sister showed me this little package of some powdery stuff, and she's like, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, well, what's that? And she's like, well, it's crank. And I'm like, well, what's crank? And she goes, you're going to feel like Superwoman. So I was like, well, gee, what single mother of two doesn't want to feel like Superwoman, right? So I did my first line, and I was hooked. It was first on Fridays and Friday to Saturday to Sunday. And, before you knew it, like the weekends turned into weekdays, and I was addicted. I lost my job. I stopped going to school. I started hanging out with some really rough people. And life just really spiraled out of control. My first charge was a first-degree sales with intent to distribute. I was hanging around with some bad people, and I was guilty by association. I wanted to get high, and if this was the way I was going to get high, was with hanging with the drug dealers and things like that. That's really what I did. So, throughout the 14 years of my addiction, I was in and out of jail, in and out of prison, in and out of treatment centers. I was in really abusive relationships. The people that I was with would beat me down both mentally and emotionally, and also physically. So by that time, my self-esteem was just beaten down to crap, And like I said, with my dad, my wanting the love and affection for my dad, I sought it in other ways with men and in relationships. And I ended up with some really bad people. In 2009, after being arrested for the 28th time, I was like, listen, I need to do something different. And throughout my addiction, being in drug court and going back to jail or going back to prison, like I knew that I needed to get to Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. That's the program that I knew that I needed. And I remember people telling me, no, you're not going to go there. And I'm like, oh, that's where I need to go. So I went through the program back in 2009, and I spent a year in that program. And then I spent 15 months in their TCLI program. And from there, I began working for them. I worked for Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge since I graduated. I did leave for a year and work elsewhere, but I came back, and I've been working for them ever since.
Can you elaborate on TCLI? Could you tell people what that is and why Teen Challenge has that? Because
sure.
That is a big part of Teen Challenge, and I've heard a lot of people there's been a couple people that have come on this live stream, and they've come out of TCLI, and we've never really broke it down. So I would like to ask you if you could do that for us, please.
Yeah, so Teen Challenge Leadership Institute is what it stands for, and it's like another year. Back when I went through, it was up to 2 years, but now it's a year long. So you have the option, or actually, I'll just say an opportunity to stay within the confines under the umbrella of Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge for an additional year. So you can either go to the sober living side of things, or you can take the ministry track, and you have so many different opportunities. They went to Costa Rica to do ministry work. You take classes, you'll get like a certificate while you're there, but you have an opportunity to either work, take the ministry track, or stay in the sober living, which I think is a great opportunity. I'm from St. Paul, and my only option when I graduated Teen Challenge was either go back to St. Paul with my mom and my dad, or go spend some time under the umbrella of TCLI, which I didn't really want to do, right? But I knew that because of the length of my addiction and the lifestyle that I had lived, I needed to do something different, because not only was I addicted to the drugs, you guys, I was addicted to the lifestyle too. So, so much has happened since then. God, I'm a Christian. God had intervened in my life and has just miraculously done so many different things for me. I just want to backtrack a little bit. So in my addiction, I abandoned my kids with my parents. When my house got raided, my mom and dad stepped in, and they were like, enough is enough, And so they came in, and they took my daughter, and they took my son, and my kids got split up. My son went with his dad, and my daughter went with my parents. And I use that as an excuse to say, F it. You know what? You guys took my kids, not taking responsibility for what I had done, and I was like, I'm going to go rip and roar and do me. Right. And that's really what I did. Addiction for me had been a very selfish thing. Just the things that I had done to people, stealing and manipulating and lying and being deceitful and all that stuff. And to where I'm at now is what I tell people when I'm meeting with people in the jail is that the desire to want to get, or the pain that you're causing your family and your kids has to outweigh the desire to want to use drugs again. And that kind of snapped for me eventually, because I remember all the different times, like calling my kids from jail and my daughter crying because I broke another promise to her again, or, all of that stuff that we do and we continue to use because we want to suppress it. And we think that, it's going to take care of it, but it doesn't take care of it, because eventually you're going to wake up in a jail cell, or maybe you won't even wake up at all. Who knows? We don't know when our last time to use is, but I just remember that. I remember the tears. I remember the pain that I had caused my kids. Like, I just remember all of that. And there's nothing in me today that will ever go back to using drugs again because of that, because of the pain that I had caused them. And I'm just at a place in my life where I can't let people down anymore. Some of the cool things though that had happened to me is that, I've gone through trials. I've gone through tribulations. In 2015, I was diagnosed with brain aneurysms. So I went and I had some things done with that, but that was a miraculous thing for me. In 2018, I was pardoned by the Minnesota Board of Pardons. So all of the things that were on my record are no longer on my record. I have a place to live. I'm raising my grandbabies that I've had since they were babies. I'm super blessed. I go into the jails, just God is doing things in my life that I never had thought that I would choose on my own, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Definitely makes perfect sense, because that's just the way it works out, man. God's will is perfect. And when we follow God's will and we put ourselves in vulnerable positions and take ourselves out of our comfort zone, we grow, right?
Yeah.
When we sacrifice. I definitely can relate a lot with your story, just because I was too in and out of jails. One jail has me, I got like 40 mugshots in that jail. And that's just one of them. And in and out of jail. And every time I wanted to change my life, I always had this inkling of Minnesota Teen Challenge. And because I went there when I was 19. And it was probably the most peaceful time I had in my entire, little stretch of running around. It was always what I went back to, because I was happy. I was joyful. I made a mistake and, ended up getting kicked out of there. I wasn't ready. I needed some tough love. And this is a story that is pretty cool, man. I shared it with Tony. I don't think I've ever shared it live, but I'm going to share it because it's full circle restoration and resentment and things like that. So when I was 19, I was kicked out of Teen Challenge because I went on a pass, right? I went on a pass. They used to give you passes to go on, and I didn't have any family up here because I'm from Louisiana. And Teen Challenge was nice enough to let me go on pass with another couple people that were in there. And what we did was me and another guy, we got a hotel room. We went and we had some females come on over, and we were drinking and we were doing stupid things. And what happened is I do what I normally do when I drink. I snake out or do something to upset myself or someone else to cause some kind of drama. And then I'm alone stealing a car. So I stole a car. They threw me in jail in like Isani County, right? Or Cambridge, somewhere up there. I was in North Branch when I got pulled over. The cops were very mad at me because I messed up their breakfast. They made sure to tell me that. But they arrested me, and I had to sit in this like Cambridge or Isani County jail or something, and I was waiting to go to court. Now, I was already in Teen Challenge for drinking and stealing cars. So I'm just in there praying hard, just praying, man, get me out of here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. What happened was I went to court. I went to court for the first one, and then I went to the second court date. And the judge in Chisago County or whatever, way up there, said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to release you to go back to Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. And I'm like, okay. So he did. He released me to go there. Well, I had some warrants in other counties. So they picked me up on these warrants that I had. And the program director at the time did save a bed for me, Mr. Terry Francis. And he saved a bed for me at that time. And what happened was I got released from jail early. And I went out and got high. And when I got high, I felt so convicted. And I was up for days, right? 3 days. Well, I called the intake coordinator at the time. His name was Chris Carey. And I said, and he worked with, his name was Chris Carey. This was back in I can't even remember what year it was. 2002, maybe 2003. But I talked to him and I was honest with him. And he was like, yo, I'm coming to pick you up regardless, right? I'm getting you out of that situation because I was like, you got to come get me. It was when I was coming down and everything was crashing in and I didn't know what to do. And I was young. Well, I went there and Terry wanted to talk to me. And I was going to lie to him, right? Of course. And I went into his office and Mr. Terry Francis sat me down and he said, Mr. Tyler, what were you doing out there? And I said, and I couldn't lie to him. I got convicted. And I just told him the truth. And he said, he was honest with me. And he said, Mr. Tyler, I can't have you in this program. You're not ready to change. And I was pissed.
Yep.
Pissed for many, many years. Many years. What happened was I surrendered my life over again, multiple times, but I surrendered my life over in Stillwater Prison. And what happened was when I got out of Stillwater Prison, I went to Life Rebuilders Midwest Challenge, and they have a golf event every year. And I was on one of the holes telling my testimony. Mr. Terry Francis comes on through. I got goosebumps right now because this is the power of God. Amen. Mr. Terry Francis comes through, and I know who Terry Francis is. I don't think he knows who I am at all. And then I was telling my story and stuff, and then I talked to him. And he said, aren't you glad I got out of God's way?
Wow.
That's what he said to me.
Amen.
He said that to me, and that was in I got chills. I mean, I'm not kidding.
Me too. That's awesome.
I have a picture on Facebook from that day still. And it's me in like a Life Rebuilder shirt, and it says prison, jail over 40 times, prison 3 times, this, that. And then it says on the other side, it says my life sober. It says 4.0 grade point average, all this other stuff, right?
Yep.
But that was the day, and I was wearing like a Minneapolis police hat because one of the guys that got me into that program was a retired Richfield police officer named Larry Lotzer. He was the one that came into Stillwater. Him and another guy who's actually in Apple Valley. He's a cop, but he believes in rehabilitation. And he came in, and these two guys came in, and they spread that message of hope with Midwest Challenge, and they brought that into the treatment center inside the walls of the prison, and that's how I knew where to go. You know what I mean? I remember that, and we reached out to Larry Lotzer, my counselor did, and they got me in there, and then years later, it's a full circle of healing with Terry Francis, and I got to be a part of that. You know what I mean? And that is undescribable. Okay, that is undescribable. It really is. You cannot deny. Coincidences just don't happen, especially when there's been red flags in our life the whole time. When we start to recover and we start to look back is when we really find where God puts his hand in our lives and pulls us out of stuff, or shuts the door on us, or opens the door for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's my own perspective. right? But it was a good. I just wanted to share that because that's a real story, and
Yeah.
Mr. Terry Francis is a good man,
He
and
is a good man.
he helps so many people, and I
Hmm.
was, you know what I mean? I had a chip on my shoulder. I'm the same, it's the same thing. Now, when you look back at it, that's how I want to treat people. I want to
Yeah.
love people like that.
Amen.
That's why we go live, right? That's why I go live. That's why we share our story. That's why I get so real, because I want people to know that recovery is life, man. Being a part of this is just learning how to live. And it's not always, it doesn't always have to do with drugs and alcohol. It
Mhm.
doesn't. If you live a life of recovery or growth, right? Growth, we're always trying to grow. I know I am being in recovery. If
Yeah.
I'm not growing, then I'm dying. I'm shrinking if I ain't growing. But yeah.
Yes.
So what's up with you? So I need to ask you some questions because I just went on a rant and now my
All right.
computer screen just popped up.
So, when you're talking about the police officers and stuff, like that just brought up some stuff. Because, a lot of times when I'm in jails meeting with people, they're like, well, my probation officer, this or that. And what I really want people to understand is that the people that work with us, like our probation officers, and things like that, are really on our side. They just get sick and tired of seeing us over and over and over again. And I just gotta go back. So when I went into Teen Challenge, my new probation officer came in to see me, and she goes, Amber, she goes, when I saw your record, she goes, I asked your old probation officer, I said, what do you want me to do with her? And she said, if she violates, send her to prison. So she warned me immediately and said, if you violate or break any rules, I'm sending you to prison. But I'll tell you what, I looked at her and I said, I'm not going to violate. Like, I'm in a place where I know that I'm ready to be done. I got off probation early. She signed my thing. Congratulations, Amber. Like, she came to my graduation. So like, she was super proud of me, and it felt good to have somebody that I thought that was against me be proud of me.
That's right. I know the feeling. It
Oh
is.
yeah.
It is. And when I noticed the same thing, I thought all my parole officers and POs were out to get me. My big plan on my 2011 release date was to parole to Louisiana so I wouldn't have to deal with Minnesota parole, and then I can hook up with some people down there and start moving things up here. That was
Right.
Phil's plan. Phil's plan wasn't to go to no halfway house. Phil's plan was to go down there and do that. But
To do whatever you wanted to do, right?
someone spoke some life into me, and I started to listen to my heart instead of my head, and that's where God lives, is in the heart, and comes from the gut, and it's the decisions that we make that are tough.
Yeah.
It is. I always tell people, hey man, you want to be tough, you want to be a man, you think you're tough, go do something super nice for someone and don't expect anything in return.
Yeah.
Or go open yourself up and be selfless to someone, because that's really going to make you more tough than anything, because it's going to open you up for vulnerability. And that's really where my growth happens, is when I open myself up and get out of my comfort zone. And I learned that in treatment. And I learned that when I used to work for the Salvation Army ARC. I did a full 180 on that too. So I went to Midwest Challenge on release. I went to their redemption program. I wasn't eligible for work release because I did, bad things in there and, things like that. But I got out and I went to one of their GRH funded halfway houses, and I started going to school for addiction counseling at the time. And it was great. It really was. But things happen and things change along the way. But I never gave up. I know for sure. So in your 12 years of recovery, okay, how many times, like early on, could you have maybe, if you see an instance that maybe if you said, sometimes doors close on us, like, or open for us. Like sometimes we get discouraged in recovery when we expect something and it doesn't happen, like with probation and things like that. Is there anything like, so for example, myself, right? I wanted to be an addiction counselor. They told me I couldn't. I had too many felonies. That was one of the things that happened in my recovery. My dad died while I was in recovery. You know what I mean? These things happened to me and my aunt. I've been married. We've had, just all kinds of stuff happened to me. I also got shut down for certain programs that I wanted to get into. I've been turned down for jobs because of my felony record, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that happen in my life that I still don't have to go drink for or go hit the pipe for or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything like that happen to you?
Well, I remember, so when I was in TCLI, that's when I still had a record, and I was at a point where I was like, I think I'm done with this program and I'm ready to move on. And when I was looking for places to live and I was filling out applications, I was getting denied left and right. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep going anyway. And I kept doing it. And a lady down in the heart of Minneapolis had this little apartment building. And I was like, I called her up and I said, hey, I know I have felonies on my record. I know I'm newly sober. I just need an opportunity. And she took that to the board. And the board gave me an opportunity. And it was that one yes that kept leading to other things. People weren't saying yes to me all the time, right? I was being told no. There were so many no's. There were so many times that I got discouraged. But I knew that if I kept persevering, there was going to be that one yes that I needed, just that one opportunity. So all I needed was somebody to believe in me and give me a chance and run with it, right? And we're going to be told no. If we have records and we're in recovery, people are going to tell us no. People aren't going to trust us. We look bad on paper. People that aren't familiar with charges and backgrounds and recovery and things like that, of course, they're going to be like, oh, no way. But what I tell people is that begin building a case for yourself. If you're volunteering, if you're speaking at events, if you've got a probation officer that let you off early and they wrote you a letter, keep that. You know what I mean? Build yourself this binder of all of these accolades, of all these good things that you've done since you've recovered, so that you can say, hey, maybe that's who I was right there on that piece of paper, but this is what I've done today. This is who I am today. This is what I've done to turn my life around, right? Because that's what they want to see. They want to see what you've done to change, not really necessarily all the bad stuff, but what have you done that's positive in your life that's, where I can trust you. My grandpa died when I was in my recovery. My cousin overdosed and died. I've had a lot of friends that have overdosed and died. I've had people close to me die. And, like you were saying, Phil, there have been some things that have happened in my life that have been really hard and challenging. But people like us, we need community. We need community. We need people. We need friends. We need people that are going to come around us and surround us and pray for us and pull us in and say, hey, what's going on? Can I bring you out to coffee? Let's go do lunch. What's up? You know what I mean? And I remember when I went to Teen Challenge, everybody can probably say this, right? I had all the guy friends when I was out using. All my friends were men. I couldn't trust women because they were snaky, right? That's what I thought. But I have girlfriends today that are the best friends that I could ever hope for. And I have more women friends than I do have guy friends. So it's it turned. But I need the people that are in my life. I need the ladies that I have in my life because they push me to want to be better. My life isn't perfect. Every day isn't rainbows and butterflies. But I'll tell you what, it's better than hitting that pipe.
That's right. Better than waking up in a jail cell.
Oh,
better
yeah.
It's better than eating cake and cereal together.
And hard-boiled eggs in Ramsey County Jail.
Hey, I just thought about that. Hey, when we're in jail, we eat cake. We put the cake on the cereal. I did because I didn't like the cereal because it wasn't sweet. It was unsweetened. So I'd put the cake on the cereal and put the milk in it. You've been to jail as many times as me, so I'm like, shit, she knows what's up.
You, yes. I remember the hard oranges in the bag lunches with the fake, I don't know, whatever, bologna, that fake bologna. I'll tell you what though, those were so good because when I'd get to jail, like I would be so hungry because I mean, when you're using, you're starving yourself really. But like the next day and then like a week into your stay, it's like, okay, I'm sick of this stuff. It's nasty.
Right. So definitely killed it. We've been on for about 30 minutes. I'll continue to stay on. I think that we got a lot of your story out. You were very concise with it. We got it out real quick. A lot of hope in your story. And that's why I was ignited to share my experience with, just from your story, motivated me to speak on the experience I had with Terry Francis. And that's a real big deal to me because I look up to that guy and I still do. I resented him. I thought, that's the thing. It's like a lot of this stuff takes practice to practice through things. And that's what I've noticed too. Little things like writing things down to be responsible. Little things like that. Like I never when I got out when I was 27, I never had a legit license and I went and got it. Just little things like that, right? Just doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. That was one of the most important things that I was taught in Atlantis treatment in Stillwater Prison. That is one of the most crucial lessons I learned is how to have integrity, to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because you can get away with it.
Yeah.
That is where I started to really realize that, you know what? It takes a man to do that kind of stuff. It takes a man or a woman to step up courageously and get out of that stuff they're in. Because the thing about it is, when we're in that kind of stuff, it's like I was either all the way, and then when I was coming down, I was usually ambiguous about it. Yep. There really wasn't a lot of ambiguity. It was I'm extreme, one way or the other. There wasn't I might change. I might, it was either I'm going to change my life or no, I'm going all in. Give me a pound. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's just the way it was. So, right. And today I found it's the same way for me, right? Yep. But I've learned how to take those survival skills, I like to call them. You started to name a few of them off, the survival skills of like lying, cheating, stealing, dishonesty, all the survival skills that we thought we had to have, those defects of character, mm-hmm. The things that actually did protect us in some instances, especially, for females in that kind of world, because that's really, that's tough. You know what I mean? It's tough.
Oh yeah.
It really is. And even to just, because that's dirty business, man. That's the devil's business for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not nothing that me or you are proud of being a part of. And that's why we do what we do on here, because making a living amends consistently, because when we're involved in that kind of life for so long, we influenced very negative things, and we were producers of chaos. And that's right. So now, just because we sober up and we changed our life for a few years, right? Mm-hmm. That's why the calling is so strong, to continue to spread hope, to continue to help others, because the conviction's still there, because we know that we don't deserve to be on this live right now talking to these people. 2 miracles, right?
Amen.
When I changed my life, I'm going to keep it real. People said, if he can do it, anybody can do it. And I'm sure they said that about you too, just because of our records and our background. I remember when I got out of the joint, I had, I got out of prison, and I was out for a little bit, and I had, I was coming up on a year sober. And one of my ex-girlfriends said, and this is absolutely what I needed to hear. I was like, man, I almost got a year sober. She goes, talk to me when you've been out of prison for a year. Bam! It was the truth, but it was for real, because that was the
Right.
truth. We have to earn our trust back. People have to begin to trust us again. There's been a lot of dirty things that I've done to a lot of people in my past. Sometimes I wonder, if I'm going to run into those people when I'm with my kids. But luckily, I have a strong faith, and I believe that as long as I'm on the path of love, that God will protect me, and my family, of course. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So what's up with everybody out there? Let's get some questions now. We've been on 35 minutes. I got Amber here. She's sharing hope. I'm sharing some hope. We're pumping hope out. Hopefully you guys are sharing this live on your pages so we can get hope to the hopeless on everybody's page, not just mine and Amber's. But if you guys got some questions, I'm gonna look through the comments and we're gonna pop them up. Definitely. What's up, Kinda? How are you? So I am going to pull up some of these comments. We have a lot of them. This was one of the first ones I seen.
Oh, love you, Becky.
Then you have
MNTC, yes.
Oh yeah. Well, we got a new comment down here, so I'm going to shoot down. Yeah, Kinda, we got to get you on. We're going to be rescheduling. So next week, I don't have a live going on. I have a Top Golf event that was canceled due to the events in Brooklyn Park a few weeks ago. But now we're going to be going back to Top Golf this next Saturday. So I won't be live. But I'll be replaying a live or doing something like that. I'm going to throw this one up there. So isn't it crazy how the longer so when I first started on my journey, I was scared, right? I just got out of prison. My biggest fear was going back to prison. That's what kept me sober. I didn't want to go to prison. Really, I didn't want to go to prison. So, and I had realized that what brought me to prison was not being sober. Then,
right.
Even when I was in prison, I was still doing, not sober and still experiencing the same consequences, and it still didn't stop me. You know what I mean? It wasn't until someone shared their hope with me and someone sparked me and gave me that courage that said, you know what? If she can do it, or if he can do it, I can do it too. Yep. And that's why we're here.
That's right.
Because if Amber can do it, you can do it too. And we're here to help you too. Against the Odds is a page. We also have a group. That group is attached to this page. If you're in recovery and this is your first time watching this live stream, please go add yourself to the group called Against the Odds group. It's a great group. We have a great administrative team, and it is about recovery and positive life change. Anyone that's lived against the odds is, of course, welcome. I don't want to sit here all night, and I'm not getting any questions on here. So I don't want to sit here and ramble. If nobody has any questions, then I'm going to close this out because I think we had a great live. Amber,
thanks everyone.
You will be coming back on. I'd like to get some of the people that come onto these lives to come back onto these lives with me, and we do a discussion on relapse prevention, or we do a discussion on something that you're passionate about, that you want to tell people, something that like a message that you have. That's the kind of stuff that we want to get involved in with people that come onto the lives that are comfortable with sharing with me and collaborating, because I think when we collaborate with one another, I think that the energy that we can create, and even though it's digitally and all this 2021 technology stuff, right?
Right.
People can really feel the energy and they can feel the vibe from these videos because it's
Yeah.
real. Because we don't script them. We don't do anything like that. We just go with the flow. And sometimes we get shut down, and sometimes Wi-Fi might not work, and sometimes it might.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like before we went live, everybody, we had some technical difficulties on the backside with Wi-Fi issues. I wasn't sure if we were gonna be able to go live, and I was like, oh, we might have to cancel, and if we do, that's okay, because we are not in control here, and that just is. It's just that's the way it is in life, right? God grant me the serenity.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I can't control. If I get all mad about it and upset about it, that doesn't help me any. And I didn't get mad or upset about it. I just accepted it. And what happened was we stayed live, and she is broadcasting, and we're not glitching at all. It's really surprising knowing the Wi-Fi setup that we have.
It worked.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw this up there. There are people that are thanking you for sharing.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
That's my buddy, Paul. He has a question for you. Perfect. My man. He must
disappointing my kids. Who? It was disappointing. Disappointing my kids. I was sick and tired of letting my family and my kids down. And it was the last phone call that I called my daughter. It was another broken promise that I had made. I had promised her that I was going to come back immediately. And I ended up in jail. So I had to call her and tell her I was in jail. And it was her sobbing on the other end of the phone. That was it. Like, I couldn't break my kids' hearts anymore. Like, I was to a point where I was like, I can't do it anymore. So that's what led to my recovery. That was really my bottom, I'd have to say. Letting my family down.
Right. And if there's anyone out there watching tonight and you got kids and you're doing what you're doing and you know what you're doing, think about that. For real.
Yeah.
Because it's your kids.
Time goes too fast.
It's your kids that matter more than anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's our kids that we want to see grow into a life that we never had. I know that's for me. To see my two kids, I spoil my kids, and it's bad because it's the life I never had. And I have to watch myself so I can healthily provide them the life I never had without spoiling them to death. And that's a challenge, and that's okay. That's a good challenge. It's better than the challenge that we used to face, right? Don't get pulled over in the stolen whip with the stuff in the back.
Yep.
Thank you for the question, Paul. That was a good question. Because when we can get rambling on and we can lose focus on that, and you know, we can go on and on and on, and we definitely want to hit that, because there are people out there tonight that got kids and they might not be in the position where they want to be. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here, and we're sharing our hope and we're sharing our story, because if Amber can change her life, so can you, because she was messed up. I'll tell you how messed up she was. She went to jail 28 times. That's messed up.
Yep, that is messed up.
For me, I went to jail 30, the multiple times like that too, and that's messed up. For us to be comfortable with locking ourselves up, that was kind of my safe haven. It preserved me. You know what I mean? Because if I would have been higher for longer, and I might have started, getting deeper and deeper into it. But what does the Bible say? I'm going to tell you what it says. I can't tell you where it says it because it's been a while, but it does say, the Bible says, God saves his anointed king. God saves his anointed king, and it's in Proverbs somewhere. And he says that and it relates to me because, man, I always got busted. I was always in jail. So I figured, hey, God's saving me. God's preserving me.
Me
I got
too.
a plan for my life. He ain't letting me get, you know what I mean? He ain't letting me get away with shit. Let's just keep it real. I didn't get away with nothing. I wasn't slick. I got freaking 11 felonies. I've been to jail more than anybody I know. You know what I mean? It's like, neither were you. And I didn't change my life
I
till I
didn't
was
get away with
27.
27,
Yep.
32. I was 32.
You must be older than me then.
I am.
We won't. I'm sure you're not. You look like 25, so you're good.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that.
So we have, what do you do today to keep yourself in recovery other than going to like support group meetings? He's saying, what do you do besides the meetings? Like, you know, what do you do for fun to keep yourself busy?
Well, first of all, I want to start with like, I've never been a meeting person. I think, working at Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge, I do a lot of service work daily. I still go into because of COVID, I'm not, but prior to COVID, I was going into the jails and ministering to people and sharing the program. I drive people into treatment from jail still. But what I do for like fun, I have a farm. So I'm like constantly busy. I have horses. I just had a little baby filly. So I just had another horse, and I've got chickens and 2 ducks and a donkey and goats and all that stuff. So that's what I do. But as far as, keeping myself in recovery, it's the community and the people that I hang out with. And it's also just the service work that I get to do daily with the people that, are in recovery or are trying to get sober, or things like that.
I like the farm. I know Paul. Paul's one of my good friends. Paul. So a little story about Paul. Paul was the best man in my wedding. He is one of my best friends. But I tried to get sober. Well, I wouldn't say I tried. I did try to get sober in 2008 or 2007 ish. I went to jail and made bail and put myself into treatment. And my first kind of try at recovery, like with church setting and meetings, support group meetings, 12-step meetings, and Alpha group is what it was called. I'm not sure. Paul, what was it called? It was a long time ago. But anyway, that's where I met Paul, man. And Paul has always been a mentor of mine. Paul went and seen me when I was in the joint. Paul is a real friend of mine.
It's awesome.
He called me when I relapsed, and I never answered because I relapsed. I didn't want to talk to any of them guys. But yeah, it was Alpha. So yeah, I didn't want to talk to anyone. But he reached out to me, and he always led me with love. And he's a definite an example of a man of God and
That's
a good
awesome.
man at that, who raises his family and who has recovered the same way we have. He's got the same past as us, meth and alcohol and, all the good stuff that goes with that game. Mm-hmm. But the thing is it's guys like that I seen early on that showed me the way.
Yep.
It's guys like that and girls like you that I seen, like Gina.
Yep.
That showed me the way. Guys like Terry Francis, guys like James Tribble, guys like Brother Earl. These are people that always had an influence in my life of speaking life. Yeah. Tim Ealing, another man that spoke life into me. I like to represent Tim Ealing all the time because he don't want any recognition. That's why I give it to him. Because my guy Tim, he don't want any of that recognition. He never takes any credit, but he spoke life into me in there, and I'll never forget that. And he never thought he was getting out of prison.
And there he is.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's why I always plug old Timmy, because that's my guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm, well, I would, you know, I always bring it back to the kids thing, because I think it's really important for people, us, to understand the impact our addiction is having on our kids. So when I'm meeting with someone, I always ask them if they have kids, because I meet with a lot of folks that are kind of still on the fence about recovery. And that, when I ask them if they have kids, that kind of gives me the opportunity to begin talking to them about like the things. And I really didn't go into it that deep about, me abandoning my kids and things like that. But I really try to bring it back to that because I think it's really important for us to like see, and to feel it, right? Because we can suppress that. We can suppress all the feelings we want with drugs or alcohol, right? But if we're in a jail or we're at a point where we're like, I don't know if I want to get clean, I'm afraid, there might be some fear in this and that. I always bring it back to like, who's got your kids? How old are your kids? How long have you been using? Because I want something to click. You know what I mean? Like I want them to to start feeling it. Because for me, that's what worked for me. When I began to feel it and my heart began to break for the things that I had done to my kids, like abandoning them, that's when things began to like snap in me and understanding that, okay, well, maybe recovery is the thing I need to do. So that's really what I do is I ask them about kids and then I just share about the things, all the great things that have happened in my life. I mean, if I hadn't gotten sober, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I don't even know where I'd be. Maybe I'd be in jail. Maybe I'd be dead. But we don't know when our last time using is going to be our last time. So
That's right.
I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it's a tough question, actually. He's throwing them out there. It actually is. That's a tough question. That is a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is it's the tough questions that's what we have to ask people that are on the fence. We got to get to like you said, generally we want to cut that. We want to cut into their soul. That's what I want to do. If it's tough because it's like you want somebody to change, right? Or you see someone and you see that, their life could be a lot better if they stop doing a certain something. And if they just surrendered their will to what God has in store, because sometimes we can look back and see the plan that God has on someone else's life because we're looking and we see that the doors are closing for them in certain areas and opening for others, but they're still running with their will and experiencing nothing but pain and misery. Until then, you know what I mean? I see it with my buddy. And I've seen it with a couple of people that I've tried that I'm trying to work with today. I do work with a couple of people that are in and out of recovery, that are on the fence, that continue to keep making mistakes, but it is what it is. I can't change for them. All I can do is be available when they're ready. And I try to lead with love, all the time. Even if they piss me off and I drive them to treatment and they leave the next day, I still lead with love. And I still offered to bring him to another treatment center of his choice. If he was willing to go, I wanted to get him in there bad. I wanted him back in there because I know the reality behind it. Because if he doesn't get back in there, what might happen? He might not make it.
Yeah.
Straight up. With what's going on with the dope today, what I hear about how they cut it with all kinds of downers and all this other stuff that can kill you. It's like, that's the reality of it. I know a guy that actually was so I started my recovery journey in Stillwater Prison. He was in Stillwater Prison with me. He was a younger guy. He was younger than me. He had mild cerebral palsy, but he had a heart that he just wouldn't quit. And that's what attracted me to him. And he was very charismatic. He was a really outgoing guy, a great guy. He was the last guy you would probably think to see me with in Stillwater Prison. He had mild cerebral palsy, so he had a little, limp. But he ran the yard with me. He worked out with me, and he was my guy. And what happened was I got released, and I went to Life for Builders Midwest Challenge. And a couple months later, he got released and went to Midwest Challenge and followed me there. And I got to be with him and kind of, lead the way still. And then he went to, I got a job at the Salvation Army ARC. And guess what? He went and got a job at the Salvation Army ARC in the thrift store. But what the difference was he relapsed. And he's no longer with us. And I'll be doing a tribute for him this July. But that's the reality of it. He never got it. He never got it. He just never understood how to completely surrender and to not, and I can't describe it. It just sucks because he was a friend of mine and he was close to me, and I had to, I went to his funeral. So it's tough. And my wife knew him, and, I love that kid to death, man. He was one of the best kids I ever met in my life. Straight up. His name was David Lund. R.I.P., brother. Get emotional talking about him. But anyway, I'm sure we got a bunch of comments on here. We got 56 minutes on this live. We're going to cut it. What do you think, Amber?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
It's good.
So I want to thank you personally for coming on. You really brought out a lot in me that I didn't think I was going to say. I thought you were going to be talking, you brought a lot of stuff out in me, and I love that because that's the unscripted part of this live that I believe is so spiritual, and I believe that's why people watch it. Because it's unscripted and we're just sharing our experiences. I appreciate you being vulnerable and opening yourself up and talking about your experiences with the audience on here and myself. Super grateful for that. You're always welcome back on here, of course. And I hope I'm going to invite myself to your farm.
Come on over.
Because Erin said it's the best farm. She commented on there too. She said it's the best farm.
Yep,
She been there?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
We're in Maryland.
So I'm going to let you say goodbye and a farewell. And then when you say goodbye and farewell, I'm going to pull you off the screen. And that's how we'll end it.
All right. Well, Phil, thank you for what you do. And thank you for bringing lives to people, because people do need to hear it. We need to share our story. So thank you for the opportunity to share my story. It's kind of been a while. So I just think that, if you're struggling, there are so many people that want to help you. If you're watching this, reach out to Phil, reach out to me, reach out to someone, but just let someone know. Be transparent in your recovery. And God bless everyone. God bless you, Phil, and your family. And just thanks.
Have a good night, Amber. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks.
Everybody, what an incredible Saturday night. Thank you guys for tuning in to another broadcast of Against the Odds Saturday Night Live. We had a great guest, Amber. She told her story. We got some good dialect. I started to share some things, and we were on a spiritual journey for about an hour, right? So I want to thank you guys. I want to continue to ask you guys to like and support this page. Continue to help us grow, because my goals, if you guys are following me, my goal is to actually have a physical ministry in Minnesota in a few years, and it will be called Against the Odds. That's the plan. That's the goal. That's the mission. We don't know what God has in store. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what kind of paths I'm going to have to cross, what kind of doors will be opened and what kind of doors will be closed. But that is the idea right now as it sits. I have a definite passion to help others, and I feel that the ministry aspect of addiction recovery support and having sober living houses, and even having maybe even some kind of facilities to treat alcoholism and drug addiction. That is the goal. And I will keep pressing towards the goal, because I understand one thing. I understand that this is a marathon. It is not a sprint. So as long as I continue to put one foot in front of the other and pace myself and continue to grind it out, stick to the will of God and not Phil, and things will happen. Thank you guys for always sharing, supporting, giving me props, because you guys know I need that stuff. You guys' encouragement actually motivates me to continue to come on these lives. You know, I was working. I started working this morning at 8 o'clock. I was out grinding, trying to get on roofs. I was finishing a roof build in Egan, and I was out talking to homeowners, trying to help homeowners with their homes and their properties. And I was tired, but I know you guys, and I know you guys encourage me and you motivate me to come on these lives and to share hope with everybody, right? That's what it's about. It's about sharing hope. It's about sharing love. It's about sharing recovery. It's about sharing adversity and struggles. It's not just about sharing successes and, joys. It's about sharing my struggles. It's about sharing Amber's struggles. It's about sharing our weaknesses. That way we can get stronger together, because together we are stronger. And against the odds, this is a movement, and this is definitely something I'm so excited about. Thank you guys for continuing to watch. Please share this on your page if you haven't, and like the page. You guys have a great night, and thank you for helping us spread hope to the hopeless. Peace.